Hey, party people. People who love to party. It's me, Mr. Beal, here to talk to you today about graphing absolute value functions. So, if you will follow me to the share screen, ding. On Google Classroom, you can download this and print it out, or you could simply write along with it. The point of these videos, though, is so that you work along at the same time as if it were class. So you don't want to just sit there and listen to it and let the words flow over you. You want to try to actively participate. We're going to complete the table of values for this and then graph it. And as you can see, our function f of x, that's just a fancy version of y, is equal to the absolute value of x. So what we got to do first is we got to pick some values of x that we're going to put in our t-chart. And the ones that I'm going to have us do are going to be -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. As you can see, I got to scoot over a little bit as I go. Got a different setup. And we're just going to plug them into this x here. Anywhere I see an x, it's going to get that number so that we can evaluate our f of x or our y. Fancy y. So this would be f of -2 is equal to the absolute value of -2. Now we've talked about this. The absolute value is just the distance away from 0. So the absolute value of -2 is just going to be 2. And that's what goes in this t-chart. I'm going to graph the point -2, 2. I move on down here. F of -1 is equal to the absolute value of -1. Absolute value of -1 is just 1. F of 0 is equal to the absolute value of 0 is equal to 0. So I've got 1 and I've got 0 now in my t-chart. F of 1 would be the absolute value of 1, which is 1. And f of 2 is equal to the absolute value of 2, which is 2. Bam. Ta-da. T-chart, complete chart. That sounded terrible. All right, -2, 2, ding. -1, 1, ding. 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 2. Instead of being a line, like you would normally expect if this said something like f of x is equal to x, this makes a v. All of our absolute value functions are v's. You see an absolute value in something, you got to be thinking to yourself, oh snap, this is going to be a v. And they go on forever just like lines do. Essentially what it's doing is at this point, at that middle point, it turns what would be this line going this way and it shoots it back up because it's only the distance from 0. It's turning all those negatives back into positives. So what happens when we make it just a little bit more complicated? Well, we can make the exact same chart that we made the first time. That's fine. It would be, let's see, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And if some of you are confused, you're like, I don't like the way that Mr. Beal goes with the negatives on top and the positives on bottom. Listen, I'm going to flip that around in a second on the other problems that we do. So chill out. F of -2 is equal to the absolute value of -2 plus 4. -2 plus 4 is 2, and the absolute value of 2 is just 2. I didn't write that last equal sign. This time I just put it where the y was. F of -1 is the absolute value of -1 plus 4. That's the absolute value of 3. So this is going to be 3. Wait, does that make sense? Yeah, I guess. Okay. And then f of 0 is equal to 0 plus 4, which is the absolute value of 4, which is just 4. When is this thing going to turn around? F of 1 is equal to 1 plus 4 inside of that absolute value sign, which is just the absolute value of 5, or 5. And then f of 2 is equal to 2 plus 4, which is equal to the absolute value of 6, which is 6. So far I've got -2, 2, -1, 3, 0, 4, 1, 5, and 2, 6. Okay, so is that a V? Because I said that these were definitely going to make V's earlier. It looks like I just have a straight line. So maybe I'm insane. Maybe you should call the cops on me right now because obviously I don't know what I'm talking about. Or instead, maybe something is going on inside of here that's moving where our middle was. If we go back to this one, you can see that the middle is right there in the center of the entire graph. Well, what if the middle isn't in the center of the graph? So we've got two choices. We can either do more positive stuff, which would be way up high here, or we can do more negative stuff. Maybe it looks like it might be bringing it down at some point in time. So we're going to plug in some more negatives. And I know how you guys feel about that because I've taught for a long time. So you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to plug in more negatives, Mr. Beal. Sometimes you don't got a choice. Although we're going to try to work our way to the point where we can do this quickly without necessarily having to do all this math. All right, f of -7. Actually, let's go to -3. If I put in -3 there, -3 plus 4 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. Okay. If I put in -4 there, -4 plus 4 is 0. Absolute value is 0, 0. If I put in -5, I've got -5 plus 4 makes -1. The absolute value of -1 is 1. I don't know if you can see that, but we finally got the graph to turn back up on itself now because it was going down, down, and now it's going back up. When I plug in -6, it'll give me -2 as a total inside the absolute value sign. Absolute value -2 is 2. And -7 inside of the absolute value sign is going to give us -3, which will turn to be 3 once you take the absolute value. Mr. Beal, you didn't show your work right here. I know, I'm trying to go fast. Okay, so 3, -3, 1, -4, 0, -5, 1, -6, 2, -7, 3. Aha! We now have a V. Les V. Ding. Ding. So you're going to take a second. You're going to answer a question for me. What exactly happened? Can you explain how the graph in number 2 changed from the graph in number 1, and why did it change that way? By how much did it change? That's the big deal. I'm going to go ahead and pause it. If I'm good about this, I'll get it up on Edpuzzle and edit it up, but really, I'm just going to pause it for right now. One more time, you're supposed to be writing on your own, not just writing down what I write down. I'm only going to write down this first one too. Me, myself. You're supposed to think for yourself. Okay, let's go to what I wrote. Ding. All right. So the graph moved to the left 4 because of the 4 and the absolute value signs. That's what the thing on the inside did to it. It moved it this way 4. Otherwise, these graphs, this guy and this guy, are basically the same. All right, turn your page. I would like you to try this one right here. Think about how far over, think about how far over it's going to move, which direction you think that might be. And we're going to try to pick some good values for this thing. So think about that while I draw these lines right here. What values should we put in? Well, if we look back at the other one, there was a +4 and it moved left 4, which seems weird. This one's a -1. So I think the middle of this is going to be moved over 1 this direction. So I'm going to roll the dice, and in the middle of my T-chart, I'm going to put a 1, because I think that's where the middle is going to be for this thing. And then I'll just fill in the T-chart as if it was normal from there. And this time I'm going to do it right, so the negatives won't be on top, like the smallest numbers won't be on top. 2, 3, there's getting bigger going up. 0, -1, getting smaller going down. Let's plug them in. F of 3 is equal to the absolute value of 3 minus 1, which is equal to the absolute value of 2. That's 2. F of 2 is equal to 2 minus 1 inside the absolute value sign, which is absolute value of 1, 1. F of 1 is equal to 1 minus 1. Oh, I feel pretty good about this. Is equal to the absolute value of 0, 0. So if I can just get 0, if I plug that in there and I get a 1, I win. F of 0 is equal to 0 minus 1 in absolute value signs. Ugh. So that's the absolute value of -1. Absolute value of -1 is 1, because it turns all of your negatives into positives. F of -1 is equal to the absolute value of -1 minus 1, which is the absolute value of -2. That's a big fat 2. So this thing looks like this. I've got 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 0. Then over here, 0, 1, -1, 2. Throw this bad boy right here. Pardon me for leaving the screen. Like I said, my setup has changed just slightly from when I was making videos earlier. Ding. So it'll change back in the future. There it is. Can you explain how this one is different than the very first graph? We call that first graph a parent graph, by the way, because it's like the original. So explain how it's different. I will not do it for you. What I will do is move this on up. And we can see, ooh, now we've got a +3 on the outside. So I'm going to help you out because it's the first one. I don't want you to freak out. Let's do 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. Look, I'm doing it the right way now. You can get off my back. So if I plug in f of 2, this is going to be the absolute value of 2 plus 3. Well, the absolute value of 2 is just 2. And 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay. F of 1 would be the absolute value of 1 plus 3, which is 1 plus 3, which is 4. Okay, it doesn't look like it's going to get back down to 0. F of 0 is equal to 0 absolute value plus 3. The absolute value of 0 is 0, and 0 plus 3 is just 3. Okay, I mean, if we get 4 on the next one, we've got it. We did it. F of -1 is equal to -1 in absolute value signs plus 3. So 1 plus 3, there it is, there's 4. And F of -2 is equal to -2 in absolute value signs plus 3. There's the 5. So let's see what happened. As we go to graph this, 2, 5, 1, 4, 0, 3. Ooh, there's all the pieces. How is this one different than the very, very first one? I pose that question. You should pause it. Answer that question. How is this different? Don't not answer the questions, people. Work along with it. Okay, so if you pause it, I can keep talking now. And how it's different, well, it got moved up 3. So check it out. If you've got numbers on the outside, they're going to move it up or down 3. This +3 moved this up 3. So what do you think a -5 would do? What if this said f of x is equal to the absolute value of x minus 5? Well, it would move the whole graph down 5. Your middle would be down here at -5. Now, if you don't believe me, and by the way, that's the key to being able to graph these things fast, is recognizing that. If you don't believe me, you can always plug in numbers. You can always do it. Like for this one, take a look. For both 5 and 6, which you guys are going to try on your own, is going to be super complicated, super tough. I'm even going to pause it. When I come back, there'll just be answers all over the place. But as you look at this thing, if you don't know how this moves and how this moves, then just go to making a T-chart. Where should the middle of your T-chart be considering what's inside of those absolute value signs? Same thing for this guy. Can you figure out what the middle of your T-chart could be? After that, you just got to do the math. All right, I'm super pausing it now. Ding. Give those a shot. Go. What was a short time for you was quite a while for me. Let's take a look. Bam. Now, I didn't write down all of the little pieces of work, though I did have them off to the side because I was worried about you guys being able to actually see the flow of my work, especially as I move to this wacko pink color down here. But take a look. Here's some of the work that I could have done to get that T-chart, and there is the graph right there, which ended up getting moved over 2 to the right. I know it's like the opposite in there. It says -2, but we went 2 to the right, which is a positive direction. That's weird. It's like the stuff that's on the inside is backwards. And then it went 2 up from there. The other one is, there you go. There's your T-chart all the way out. You can check your stuff. But really, that center just moved 3 to the left and 1 down. Ooh. You guys have questions at the end that are all about you answering. Not me. You guys need to answer these by the time I see you, or the next time I see you. All right. Good luck. Hope that didn't take up too much time. Stay safe out there.